This is the 46 of 46 podcast October sessions, where we'll talk all things spooky Adirondacks and more. From Bigfoot encounters on the NPT to ghostly sightings in the trees, we'll dive deep into the heart of these mountains and the people who dare to climb them. From Adirondack Bigfoots to haunted lakeside bark huts, it's all here on the 46 of 46 October sessions. The Adirondack Park is a place of mystery, a vast wilderness where the footprints of civilization vanish into the overshadowing press of the wild. Among the whispering pines and hidden valleys, stories have been told, tales that tread the delicate line between myth and reality. Central among these is the legend of a creature, both formidable and elusive, that has inhabited this land for centuries. Known simply as Sasquatch, better known as Bigfoot. The origin of Bigfoot in the Adirondacks is as murky and tangled as the woods it's said to inhabit. The Native American tribes that first resided in these mountains told tales of shadowy, man-like beasts that lived in the deepest, darkest parts of the forest. These creatures, described as towering with eyes that held the ancient wisdom of the woods, were both respected and feared. They were seen as spirits of the forest, beings that existed on the blurred boundary between the physical and spiritual worlds. As settlers moved into the Adirondacks in the 19th century, they encountered these legends. In hushed tones around crackling campfires, Native Americans shared their stories with the newcomers, tales of the wild men of the woods. These stories were met with a mixture of fascination and skepticism, yet they found fertile soil in the minds of those who witnessed the untamed majesty of the Adirondack Mountains. Then, in the mid-1800s, something curious began to happen around the ADK. Reports started appearing in local newspapers. Accounts of encounters with a wild man in the forest started shaping up. One of the earliest reports, from an 1871 edition of the Adirondack News, tells a harrowing story of a trapper named Eli McCann who encountered a creature near Cranberry Lake. McCann described it as a beast of a man standing nearly 8 feet tall, covered in dark matted hair with eyes that glowed with an uncanny intelligence. The creature observed him for a moment with what McCann could only describe as curiosity before vanishing into the dense forest, like a freight train. Similar stories began to appear with increasing frequency, each varying in detail but all sharing the same core: a giant bipedal creature that was more man than beast, yet not wholly one or the other. The 19th century wild man reports just didn't stop at visual encounters either. Strange, inexplicable noises were often reported echoing through the dense Adirondack forests. Unearthly howls, wood knocks, and even a language of sorts. A series of guttural grunts and high-pitched chatters formed a symphony in the unknown. The woods were speaking, settlers claimed. And though they couldn't understand the words, they felt the message was clear. You are not alone in these woods. These early newspaper accounts fueled public curiosity and speculation. Before long, the Adirondack wild man became a legend, a tale told to frighten children and entertain adults. However, for many, especially those who had spent their lives among the whispering pines, these were more than just stories. They were a chronicle of a living, breathing part of the Adirondack wilderness. And as these stories were recounted and they spread like wildfire from one town to the next, they were met with varying degrees of belief. Some folks hunched their shoulders and spun tales about old hermits who had shunned society's bindings and chose a life among the beasts in the woods, whereas others hypothesized about lost travelers driven mad by the wilderness, and their humanity peeled away layer by layer until they were more animal than man. But amid the logical explanations, there remained a steadfast undercurrent of belief in something more profound, something more ancient, and far more mysterious. The 20th century brought change to the Adirondacks with the rise of industry and the spread of modern civilization. Yet even as the world around it evolved, the legend of the Adirondack Bigfoot remained a constant, shadowy presence that refused to be forgotten. Throughout the century, reports continued to surface. Hikers would stumble upon inexplicable footprints, massive in size and unmistakably human-like in shape. Hunters would tell tales of coming across deer whose bodies were mangled in a way that suggested something powerful and intelligent was responsible, something that would never happen in the woods they knew. These accounts, while numerous, were often met with skepticism. Mainstream science refused to acknowledge the possibility of an undiscovered primate residing in the Adirondacks. And these were simply stories, they said, a mix of hoaxes and misidentifications and overactive imaginations. However, for those who had seen them, who had heard them, who had felt the undeniable presence of something else in the woods with them, well, those are the people who actually know what's in the woods. They know what they experienced, and no amount of skepticism, unbelief, or ridicule can change what they encountered, even if they wish it could. The Adirondacks has always had a rich history of Bigfoot sightings and encounters, and for good reason. Is there a better place on the planet for a creature to remain hidden than in the Adirondack Park? Fast forward to the present day, and the whispers have not subsided. Rather, they've transformed. In our world of digital immediacy, stories of Bigfoot encounters in the Adirondacks are no longer relegated to a few local newspapers or hushed campfire tales. They're online, they're shared in forums, they're detailed in blogs, and explored in podcasts. Modern Bigfoot enthusiasts equipped with night vision cameras and audio recording equipment constantly trek into the Adirondacks with hopes of encountering these elusive beings. Take, for instance, the recent story of Eliza Hendricks, a seasoned hiker who in the summer of 2022 ventured into the dense wilderness of the high peaks. Eliza had always been a skeptic and her mind firmly rooted in the tangible, the explainable, but that was until the evening she heard the knocks. It began with a quiet thud in the distance, a single knock that she attributed to a falling branch off a tree. But then it came again, followed by another. Deliberate, rhythmic knocks that filled the twilight air around her. Her heart raced as she remembered stories that she'd heard of Bigfoot's supposed communication methods, knocking on trees. Curiosity lured her deeper into the woods, her every step crackling on the forest floor, the knocks growing increasingly louder. Then, in a clearing bathed in the silver glow of the moon, she saw it. A creature stood on 2 feet, covered in hair, its stature imposing, yet its eyes holding a glint of understanding. It was both terrifying and mesmerizing, wild yet somehow familiar. They stood observing each other for what seemed like an eternity, until the creature retreated into the shadows, leaving Eliza forever changed. Like Eliza, many came forward with their stories and their truths. They speak of stones being thrown into their camps, of distant howls and sounds that no animal in the woods is making, of structures found in the woods, twisted branches and trunks formed into arches and barriers, too deliberate to be the work of mere nature. Skeptics remain, as they always have been, questioning, dissecting, and explaining away. They speak of black bears, they speak of hoaxes, of the human mind's tendency for seeing what it wants to see, or what it fears. They demand evidence, tangible, irrefutable proof. And perhaps they're justified, for the truth remains elusive. The line between reality and myth as blurred as the figures purportedly glimpsed here in the Adirondack Mountains. Yet the believers counter with a question of their own. Hasn't Bigfoot, the Sasquatch, always existed in this way? In the whispers, in the corner of eyes, in the space between what's known and what's just beyond our understanding? The Adirondack Sasquatch, much like the wilderness in which it's said to reside, remains untamed, unclaimed, and undefined. It exists in a realm of belief, of fleeting encounters and stories passed from one generation to the next. Whether a wild man of the 19th century newspapers, a spiritual being from indigenous lore, or the elusive creature that allegedly stalks the Adirondacks to this day, Bigfoot embodies the wild essence of these mountains themselves. Mysterious, ancient, and forever calling into question what we believe is possible. From the 1800s to today, the story continues, unfolding with each rustle in the woods, each unexplainable footprint, each new nightfall. The legend of Bigfoot in the Adirondacks isn't merely a tale of a creature in the woods. It's a narrative about the human spirit, about our connection with nature, and our enduring fascination with the mysteries that lie just beyond the next tree line. In the heart of these mountains, the whispers continue, as do the searches, the questions, and the stories. For many, Bigfoot represents an unsolved mystery of the wilderness, a call to explore both the natural world and the uncharted territories of our understanding. The forests of the Adirondacks, dense and vast, continue to hold their secrets close, revealing only whispers in the wind, shadows in the twilight, and stories in the minds and hearts of those who dare believe in the unknown. And so, the legend endures, a testament to the enduring allure of the inexplicable, of the wild, and the wondrous possibility of what might just exist beyond the beaten path. Sasquatch of the Adirondacks, I salute you. Carry on.